we're going to discuss some of the rules pertaining to what is known as Genizah, which basically means the honor and dignity due to Jewish books and texts and scrolls that have worn out and are no longer usable. The general rule for Genizah is that it is something that is put away. Lignoz is to put it away somewhere, and the process of putting it away involved a process of burial. The Gemara, it's a Gemara in Megillah 26b, and it's brought down as the halakha in Shulchan Aruch in Yoredeya 282, number 10. The halakha there is to take the worn out Sifrei Kodesh, like a Sefer Torah, to place it into a clay vessel, what's called a kli cheres, and to put it into a grave. Specifically, it was to be buried when one would bury a Torah scholar, so that way they would have the Torah with them. It's interesting that this practice is no longer found currently. What we have instead is a separate place in the cemetery where the Genizah occurs, where this process of hiding things. And famously, Jewish communities have had that for centuries. The most famous one is the Cairo Genizah, where underneath a synagogue in Cairo, levels and levels of material from the community was placed there, and actually gave us a bit of an insight into the entire community. So they had all types of things in there. Anything written basically in Hebrew went into the Genizah. So they had shopping lists, they had old marriage documents, legal forms, anything. It was all found in there, and it wasn't disposed of. So the question really is, nowadays, when we have more things published on printing presses and machine printing and laser printing, are these things the same level of dignity and honor and coveted Torah as due for actual Torah scroll itself, or is it not that level? So number one, it's important to understand that part of the holiness of a Sefer Torah is the intent infused into the writing of the Torah and the names of Hashem that appear in there. So one who writes a Torah scroll has to have in mind that a significant amount of holiness is infused from the writer into the names itself, and therefore into the entire scroll as a result of writing names. That's why, for example, in the Talmud they ask the question, well, a book like Esther doesn't have any names of God in it. It's not one name of Hashem is written in it. Does it have a level of Sifrei Kodesh? Does it have the same level of sanctity and honor as do all other types of books of Tanakh? But that's a question for another time. It's just interesting to note that. But that is the basic legal definition of a Sefer Kodesh, of a holy book, is that the scribe infuses holiness by intending themselves to make the names of God, and by extension the entire writing of it, holy. And the reason why it all becomes holy is because the names are not just something that sort of float around the item itself, but it has to be written in its entirety. So the names are part of a larger piece, and so therefore the holiness is infused in the entire document. The letters, the ink itself that it's written on, the parchment itself, and even the wooden staves that are held upon it. And also there's a certain level of holiness infused in the covers for it as well, but not the same level. So the only thing that needs to be buried, according to what the Talmud is requiring, is the actual scroll itself with the letters on it. So one cannot remove the letters from the scroll because one is prohibited from blighting out God's name. There's a prohibition of mechikas Hashem, and so one has to refrain from that. What about just regular books and so on? So it's important to note that most of these books contain what we would call Torah she'ba'al peh. A Torah scroll is Torah she'bekasav. A Torah scroll is a written document which was commanded by God to be written. There's a mitzvah, there's a command to write these scrolls, to have them in your houses, to have them all over the place. And so therefore a certain amount of holiness is infused in them, similar to tefillin and mezuzahs, a lot of writing going on, and a lot of holiness infused into these particular documents. Whereas initially, Torah Shabbal Peh, or the oral laws and traditions passed down, were meant to be just that, oral. So writing them down wouldn't infuse holiness because there isn't that same command, the command to infuse holiness into the document itself. So there's an interesting question that was posed to Rav Moshe Feinstein. This tshuva, this response of Rav Moshe Feinstein, is found in his important work of Igros Moshe. It's in Orach Chaim, Volume 4, and it's Teshuvah number 39. So he points out that since the original intent of Torah Shabbal Peh was to be just that, oral tradition, it doesn't really infuse holiness in the same way. Okay? And also, the idea of writing other Sifrei Tanakh, writing the other books of the Torah and the Navi and the rest of the writings, was also meant to be written specifically on cloth, on parchment, with a specific ink known as dio. So we only permitted these things to be written as a result of a need, a communal need of what's known as Eis La'asos LaHashem, an absolute need to preserve the traditions for the Jewish people. So the holiness infused, according to Rav Feinstein, infused into these type of books, it's only based on the fact that one learns from them. That's the holiness. And so then when they are no longer suitable for learning, they no longer actually have any level of holiness, is what he says. However, it's prohibited to completely throw them out. And we find a similar statement made by, for example, other things that are known as tashmishe mitzvah. They also get what's called tashmishe kedusha, things that are used for the performance of a commandment and the fulfillment of a commandment. They get a level of items used in the performance of a mitzvah, and therefore get a usage holiness. That's similar to the type of holiness, but not on the same level, as things that are used to, for example, cover and protect and keep a Torah scroll nice, like the staves and the cover, the mantle, those type of things. And so, therefore, these things that are printed have to be treated with some level of holiness. However, the level of care for them in their disposal is not the same thing. Okay, so anything revolving around the Talmud, commentaries in the Talmud, are going to have this lower level of holiness where you have to be careful with them, but you're not allowed to simply throw them out. So a Chumash, for example, which often has the names of God in it, are going to be given a higher level, but not on the same level, or given a higher level to be treated appropriately. So therefore, those type of things are all going to go into the Genizah. And therefore, synagogues should have special places to put these type of books in order to put them properly in the ground, because they should not be allowed to be destroyed, and they shouldn't be allowed to be used for some type of despicable purpose. Okay, so these are things that are printed with laser printing, and things that are put together by machine and not written by hand, like many of the scrolls of the Torah and of the prophets are written today, and also the writings like Esther, Shir HaShirim, and those type of things. Okay, and so that's his novel idea. However, the most other people disagree with this, and they think that you should bury every single one of them. Now, the only question I want to leave us with answered is, what do you do with some of these things that are printed in, let's say, you get a weekly Davar Torah in your magazine, or you have pages that have these type of things in it? Are they meant? They're meant to only be to be read one time, and you don't really have them on a regular basis. So there's a number of also later Achronim like the Netziv and other such people who basically say that you can't just throw them out. You also don't want to leave them to basically fall into misuse or disuse. So the Netziv writes this, and also and Avnei Nezer of Rav Grudzinski, and also Rav Eliezer Waldenberg write in a number of different places that they should be treated. They should be treated well. So one could take them to recycling and wrap them in other packaging, like put them inside of paper bag, put the papers that they're printed on inside of other paper bags, so they're not really left out completely in the trash. and you don't want to look like they've been completely thrown out. So these type of things don't necessarily need to go into a full Genizah where they're buried, but they shouldn't be also treated. They also shouldn't be treated as if they are trash. And these things too is like when the proper disposal of tzitzis is also a proper way in which to manage them, is to place them somewhere where they will be properly cared for and put away, but can't be just thrown into the garbage on top of a garbage pile. So one should wrap them up and kind of hide them along with the other things that are being destroyed. And so therefore you should wrap them up a few times before placing them, for example, into recycling and other such places. So I hope this was helpful. Anytime you need any questions answered, the Beis Din is always available. Reach out to us at beisdintzedek.org. You can find all this information in the bio, and give us a like and a follow. Have a wonderful day.